Right Network. Mobilizing, countering the left, energizing the right. New Right Network, home of the New Right movement.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to New Right Network's original series, SmythTV. Your host, Brian Smith, giving you all the breaking news of the day, wrapping it all up, making sense of it, exposing the fake news and giving you the real news, and also giving you some entertainment. Folks, we have fun on this show. You gotta let loose sometimes and just take it for what it is. When we get a win, we get a win. We explain it, we show it. Democrats, they can't accept it. Anyways, welcome to the show. If this is the first time been on the show, crush the share, crush the follow. And let me just give you a rundown real quick because we got a lot of new people jumping on the show. The format of the show, the way it's set up, is that I scour through Twitter and I scour through all the news of the day, finding facts and looking for those little nuggets of information. And so for those of you on Twitter that tweet out often, you tweet out great information and good stuff, I'm going to find it eventually. And if you want, you can DM me with your stuff. And if it makes the grade, makes the cut, it's what I'm talking about. We'll showcase it on here on the show. And so in the show notes below, there's a link down in the description that says full show notes. Click on that. That'll take you over to newrightnetwork.com. There will be the embed of the video for the show, as well as the entire 2, sometimes 3 pages of show notes in the bottom. And for each of the names that tweet out, you click the name. The name has the embed link. It'll take you directly to Twitter, as well as if that doesn't work, underneath the tweet is also the exact tweet that we're talking about here on the show. So we like to showcase our good friend Soul Memes. If you like a good laugh, if you like the memes and you think that it's time to make fun of the Democrats on a regular basis, I would highly suggest our good friend Saul Memes to follow. I'm assuming it's a her. It's got a girl picture, a little cartoon caricature. So if I'm wrong, whatever, man, it's all good. So definitely follow that. That was what you saw. For those of you audio only, you missed it because it was just an audio with pictures and video. So I cut it out for the audio portion, but if you want to jump on Twitter, you can also find that as well. We've also got some politicians that are starting to run for office and making themselves known. Here in Ohio, we've got a good friend of ours at Dr. D. Hennon, an absolute follow. Definitely follow him. He's running against a Democrat. And then we also have another one that's running as well at Peggy Hubbard in Illinois. She's running as a conservative as well. And she's a beautiful black conservative with a great mind, very strong. At Cindy C's Truth is posting up about this, and we'll get into that. The people to follow, the Republicans that are running, that are willing and wanting to unseat these really crazed Democrats, as well as there's also Republicans out there, or conservatives like us, that are out there that are running to unseat rhino Republicans, and we support them 100% right here on SmythTV. So that's kind of how the format goes. We'll get into some Trump news. We're definitely going to talk about Mueller today. That was breaking last night. And for those of you who saw yesterday's show, I was in Dayton, Ohio, surveying the damage and talking with America's Voice. And thoughts and prayers, folks, really, truly, thoughts and prayers for Dayton. Devastation, still out of electricity, going on day 4. Local water is contaminated. So restaurants and store places that serve sodas or water on tap cannot be. It's a boil hazard, I guess they call it, where you have to boil your water, or boil alert in the city of Dayton. So many thoughts and prayers for them folks up there. So while I was out of town, Mueller was breaking yesterday. I did watch the entire 9 minutes of Mueller speaking, and nervously speaking and being very, well, we'll get into that. I'm going to let you know, guys, it's all bad. It's all bad and it's all downhill. Climate change snow versus scientist. It's by Tony Heller. It's a few minutes long. It's one of the longer clips, but it's an absolute must-see. It's only a few minutes long, but I'm going to play it because he does a phenomenal job out there in California. Snow versus scientist. Democrats, socialism, Islam, united. Yes, this is true, folks. And we got a great article from Gary Gendler, New Right Network writer. When will World War II finally be over? The title triggered me. I'm like, I got to read this. I got to get into this. What a fantastic article. We're going to talk about his article. You'll be pleasantly surprised And I'm going to wrap it all up and tie it all up with a lot of the stuff that we talk about here on Smith TV. Abortion updates. We've got some really good news. We're moving in the right direction. And if you believe in Mark Taylor's prophecies, how he prophesied that Donald Trump would become president, how he prophesied that he would be able to put in 5 new Supreme Court justices. He also prophesied that abortion would then be stricken and go back to the states. If you believe him and you believe his prophecy, man, I'm trying to tell you right now, a lot of that stuff's coming to pass. There's no question about that. I'm really excited where the states are moving right now, which is, pre-removal of abortion, pre-removal of Roe v. Wade, pre-that, we already have states that are lining up, and we've got a Democrat governor that is going to shock you. Or maybe not. I mean, there's some good Democrats. Hashtag walk away. Brandon Struck, good friend of the show, good friend of ours, be hanging out in Florida and Trump Doral here in October, the weekend of Columbus. So folks, if you find a good Democrat, you just tell them, say, hey, man, you just need to walk away. Come on. This is where the fun is. You don't want to be around these Democrats no more because this ain't working out. And if you want more news on the walkaway movement, if you want to point somebody in the right direction, where they be black, white, LGBTQ, woman, he, she, it, whatever, down in the show notes below, I got Brandon Struck's handle right there, so you can go right direct to him on Twitter as well on Facebook. Good friend, I'm telling you, great stuff coming out of his outfit, and his everything that he's doing is producing great stuff. So definitely follow Brandon. And I know I told you, I said Ramadan updates, day 22. We're on day 25 of Ramadan. So infidels, be warned that we've got just a few more days of Ramadan and it's going to be over. For the love of God, please let it be over. We're done with the Ramadan. And since I haven't been able to get to the updates on Ramadan, let's start off with Ramadan and the updates. This at our good friend at Chris_A10_USA. Fortunately, it's a religion of peace. Can you imagine if it wasn't? Crimes during Ramadan 2019, day 25. Jihadists kill 2,371, wound 1,430. Hashtag ban Sharia, hashtag ban no-go zones. Remove all politicians affiliated to terrorist groups or subgroups. This at the GellerReport.com. Pamela Geller, the Geller Report, she is a trooper. She has to have protection and bodyguards with her 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because they've sent out what they call a fatwa on her to have her murdered and removed from the face of the earth. Right here, folks, right in the description below, you can check her website out and definitely hit the donate button. So some people call it a religion of peace. Some people call it other things. I'm telling you right now, Islam is a cult, a death cult. And I'm more and more that I look into this, I absolutely believe God and Christ, the beginning and the end, going all the way back to the Garden of Eden to this very single day. Christianity, Judeo-Christian values, that is truly the religion of peace, if you will. Satan decided to take a turn and said, you know what? I'm going to come after you Christians with my own religion. Turns into a cult. Well, not turns into, it is a cult. Calls it Islam and says, all right. So the devil's cult, Islam, after innocent Christians around the world, and we've got to speak up about this and speak out against it. No jihadists, no Islam, no Muslims can hold office in America because it is completely 100% against our entire Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, and our ideologies as the way our country is founded. Sorry, I'm not Islamophobic because I'm not afraid of Islam, and I'm not saying something that's not true. This is an absolute fact, and it does not belong in our country. So, folks, real quick, today was trending Parler in our groups. Everybody was jumping on something called Parler, PARLER.com. And we've all signed up for it. A bunch of us have signed up for it. So I highly suggest, there's all different kinds of platforms out there. I highly suggest signing up for this one and following us at SmythTV on Parler, Parler. These platforms are popping up left and right. This one seems to be gaining some traction. I'm really excited about it. Somebody did troll a lot of people, and it was a kind of a mistake, said that Donald Trump was on Parler. That's a good tactic to get people to jump over there. But as it turns out to be, I cannot confirm that Donald Trump is on Parler. I highly doubt it. If he was, I think it would be a huge mass exodus. I mean, it was a big move towards Parler this morning where the servers weren't able to hold all the information. And so things were kind of glitchy and shutting down a little bit, but definitely jump over there and join us on Parler. So before we get into some of the big news, I want to come at you with breaking news. This started out with our good friend at T Boots. If you want real news and real time breaking news, absolutely follow T Boots. And she tweeted out yesterday, another development that flew under the radar, Catherine Heritage.
And there was another development that kind of flew under the radar was the special counsel's statement. We've got something from the Inspector General at the Justice Department, and they've confirmed now a second former senior FBI executive was guilty of unauthorized leaks to the media and, more importantly, accepting gifts from the media. And this goes to the ongoing probe of what people like to call the investigation of the investigators, those who were involved at the genesis of the whole Russia case, Neil.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about Inspector General, what he's going to release. And when he releases it, thank you, Catherine, very much.
And this at My Little I Spies, the Office of Inspector General's report has been released. Yes, folks, that's today. Breaking news has the investigative summary findings of misconduct by an FBI Deputy Assistant Director for unauthorized contacts with media, disclosing law enforcement and other sensitive information to the media, and accepting a gift from the media. This is where it's coming down to. It's an unnamed FBI Deputy Assistant Director. I would like to say it was Andrew McCabe. I don't know who it is. We're going to have to find out who it is. But at the very end of this, and the link is in the description below, you view the document. It's only 1 page long. And at the very bottom of it, it says prosecution of the DAD was declined. The OIG has completed this investigation and is providing this report to the FBI for appropriate action. Okay. We got Christopher Wray as the head of the FBI, which is really bad. Christopher Wray is doing a very, very bad job. Donald Trump knows about it. Attorney General Barr knows about it. So with that, we can cross our fingers and hope that justice is done. The OIG, again, declining to prosecute, but then giving all this information over to the FBI for them to prosecute their own people. Hopefully things will work out for the best. Hopefully we'll start to see these people go to jail. I believe in divine intervention. I mean, goodness gracious, y'all, Donald Trump got elected president of the United States. If that ain't divine intervention, I don't know what is. So fingers crossed, we're good to go. But that's another shoe that has just now dropped. And I tweeted this out at Representative Adam Schiff. Crime, no crime. Mueller and the real criminals will be flushed out. General Barr, new sheriff in town, hashtag Thursday Thoughts, Thursday Motivation. This is from yesterday. Mueller, 2 minutes of Mueller's. This is the big part of Mueller's speech that everybody is taken out of context.
If we had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so. We did not, however, make a determination as to whether the president did commit a crime. The introduction to the volume 2 of our report explains that decision.
So what he just said there is if we had no evidence that Trump did not commit a crime, we would have shown that to you. However, we don't have evidence that he did commit a crime, so we're not showing it to you. Yes, folks, it's double talk, and it's enough to get the Democrats all fired up.
It explains that under long-standing department policy, a president cannot be charged with a federal crime while he is in office. That is unconstitutional.
Okay, so with that being said, everybody's fired up. Why did this investigation begin at the very beginning? Was it even convened? If you knew you couldn't charge the president of the United States with a crime, then why did you begin this? We know why, because it was an attempt to coup and to overthrow Donald Trump.
Even if the charge is kept under seal and hidden from public view, that too is prohibited. The special counsel's office is part of the Department of Justice, and by regulation, it was bound by that department policy. Charging the president with a crime was therefore not an option we could consider.
So $35 million later in 2.5 years, total presidential harassment, the attempt to coup and overthrow the government. You knew in the beginning that you couldn't charge him with a crime, even at the onset? Huh.
The department's written opinion explaining the policy makes several important points that further informed our handling of the obstruction investigation. Those points are summarized in our report, and I will describe 2 of them for you. First, the opinion explicitly permits the investigation of a sitting president because it is important to preserve evidence while memories are fresh and documents available.
Not only that, but if you're attempting to overthrow a duly elected president, that's what you do.
Among other things, that evidence could be used if there were co-conspirators who could be charged now. And second, the opinion says that the Constitution requires a process other than the criminal justice system to formally accuse a sitting president of wrongdoing.
That's where the Democrats are running with this. That statement right there, Democrats are saying, look, he just told us we now have to impeach. It's our job. He just handed the baton to us to tell us to impeach. No, Mueller is scared. Mueller is deathly afraid. Listen to his voice. He is running. He is so scared right now. I watched the whole 9 minutes. He's stumbling over his words. His voice is cracking. He's hunched over. This is the look of a man who's been defeated, a look of a man who is worried that he may be prosecuted himself because he might be implicated in this entire thing, along with Andrew Weissman. Folks, when you've got your top lawyer, your top guy in this Mueller investigation, top guy, Andrew Weissman, going after everybody in the middle of the night, breaking down doors, scaring women and children in nightgowns and deaf women and just really scaring the hell out of people. For what? Yeah, Andrew Weissman. Yeah, there should be some criminal charges thrown up against you and Mueller to go down with it as well.
And beyond department policy, we were guided by principles of fairness.
Fairness to who? Apparently not fairness to Donald Trump, Don Jr., Roger Stone, George Papadopoulos, General Flynn, Page. No, ain't no fairness. Manafort, ain't no fairness. Cohen, as dirty as Cohen is, they should have never raided his office. That's the lawyer of the President of the United States. You're raiding his office?
It would be unfair to potentially accuse somebody of a crime when there can be no court resolution of the actual charge. So that was Justice Department policy. Those were the principles under which we operated, and from them we concluded that we would not reach a determination one way or the other about whether the president committed a crime.
You did that on purpose because you know you'd leave it up to the Democrats and the mainstream media to run wild with this. You left that up to Attorney General Barr, which he said was unusual. Normally, Mueller, in his position, would make that determination. But the fact that he left that open on purpose, that was by design, so that Attorney Barr and Rod Rosenstein together would have to sift through the documents of 448 pages, sift through them, and come up with their determination of was there any collusion? Was there any crime? Was there any cover-up? And again, 1, 2, 3, no collusion, no obstruction. Sorry, there was none. And this is Mueller's way. It's his cop-out. His way to cop out and still be in good favor with the Democrats and the mainstream media. They got some dirt on Mueller. You wait for it to come out. They've got some dirt on Mueller, and he is absolutely deathly afraid of what's about to happen. This at Coca_Bean10. Translation 1, pulled off the biggest political hit job in history, 2, leaked disinformation. 3, paid off my family's present and future bills. 4, ruined lives. If you need me, I'll be taking over from captain of the Titanic till we pass the ice fields.
Now, I have not spoken publicly during our investigation. I'm speaking out today because our investigation is complete. The Attorney General has made the report on our investigation largely public. We are formally closing the special counsel's office, and as well, I'm resigning from the Department of Justice to return to private life.
If that doesn't sound like somebody that's truly upset, I don't know what does. Mueller honestly thought that this was going to work out in their favor. They truly believed that they were going to be able to overthrow Donald Trump. They truly believed that in their mind, in their heart of hearts, that he was incompetent. He was unable to navigate the governmental systems that are in place, the spider webs, the dark deep state, if you will, not be able to overthrow the deep state, and that the deep state would actually intervene. And they did. Andrew McCabe intervening, Peter Strzok, Elisa Page intervening, all these folks intervening. And Rod Rosenstein is not beyond reproach. I'm telling you, Rod got out unscathed. He's probably the only one. Mueller attempting to get out unscathed. John Brennan still screaming and yelling. Brennan, I don't think you're in the clear, buddy. Comey still screaming and yelling. You're not in the clear as well. The hammer is about to drop, and Attorney General Barr is going to make that happen. Now, mark my words, once it happens, if you think that the Democrats are upset with this, if you think the Democrats have got something to run with and they're screaming everything from communist Russian sympathizer to now Joe Scarborough saying that racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe. If you think the political atmosphere is fired up right now, you wait till somebody goes to jail. You wait till Hillary Clinton gets prosecuted. Oh my God. God help America the days that happens, because we're definitely going to need some help. And this ad to Jamie RODR 14. She's also on Parler at Jamie RODR 14. Great real news coming out of her, breaking. I don't even look for it anymore. I'll go straight to her handle and I start looking for the news. She tweets out, boom. I love at Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders. If Bob Mueller had determined that there was a crime, he would have had a moral obligation to report on it. To put that into his report, he didn't. Mueller is a fraud and never Trumper who wasted taxpayers' dollars on a witch hunt. Agree? Question mark.
If Bob Mueller had determined that there was a crime, he would have had a moral obligation to report it, to put that into his report. He didn't. The whole purpose that he had an investigation, the whole purpose that the special counsel existed in the first place, was to make a determination on whether or not there was collusion. He came to a very explicit conclusion on that front that there was no collusion and there was no conspiracy. He couldn't make a determination on whether or not there was obstruction, which means that is up to the Attorney General. The Attorney General, based off of, without regard to the OLC opinion, based off of the exhaustive information laid out in the report that Mueller himself put together, there was no obstruction. He worked with the Deputy Attorney General to make that determination.
Couldn't be put more plain and more clear. If he found a crime, he would say, here's the crime, and hand that over to the Congress and say, here, Congress, here's the crime. No, there was no crime. And we know where the real crimes are, and the fact that they let Hillary Clinton off the hook, that's where your real crime is, your real collusion. And the real crimes, Hillary Clinton, the DNC, working with Fusion GPS, Glenn Simpson, and Christopher Steele in the Ukraine with corrupt government officials working through the Kremlin to create the fake PP dossier gate. And apparently there was 4 versions of the so-called fake PP dossier gate. All of it written originally. The original start of the Christopher Steele dossier was not Christopher Steele's dossier. It was in 2007. Glenn Simpson wrote it all the way back in 2007. They took it, gave it to Christopher Steele and said, here, just change the names and the places, put the people in play. And now we're starting to find out that Bruce Orr's wife, Nellie Orr, who works for Fusion GPS, also was allowed to see inside the NSA database as she was scouring for Russian collusion, looking for Russian collusion, came across Michael Cohen in Prague. Wrong Michael Cohen, man. Oh, the damn thing falling apart on you. Falling apart just like it fell apart when George Papadopoulos, when the FBI spied on him, got with him in Prague, got with him in Cyprus and dumped the duffel bag, cash, $10,000 cash to George Papadopoulos to do some work for us and, with the departments and back and forth in different countries. George, smart enough to know that there's something really wrong with this, wanted to give the money to his lawyer so that he could get back to America properly. He lands in Dulles, and lo and behold, who's waiting for him? The Mueller crew. What do? They can't arrest him, but they detain him. Don't even let him get through customs. And they put him in the back room. They put the light on him and put the screws to him and start interviewing him, rooting through his bags, looking for the money, the $10,000. They never found it. And now I'm hearing from inside sources that they detained his future wife, which is fiance at the time, a very beautiful, honest, just a really good-hearted Italian woman. And they put the screws to her so hard for 3 straight days. Day and night, just beating her down. So much so that she had an emergency run to the hospital. Come to find out that all the stress and the pressure forced her body to actually have a miscarriage. The FBI has a death on their hands. That's not America, folks. And George Papadopoulos, and to your wife, your now wife, that's not America. And it is an absolute crying shame that the first part of America that you get to see is some crazy cockamamie, horrible, awful stuff like this. I'm telling you, people need to go to prison for life. The investigators, the FBI agents, I know a lot of people saying the rank and file. If it's rank and file that put the screws to her, it's rank and file that put the screws to George Papadopoulos, and the rank and file is not speaking up about what's going on, rank and file, you're guilty. You're guilty by association. You're guilty by your acts. If a general or a colonel or someone in the military, when I was in the Air Force, if someone had told me that I need to put a bullet to the head of this individual, and I said, no, that's an American, you can't do that, throw me in jail. I'm not killing an innocent person. Won't do it. And in the end, the general, the colonel, whoever calls that order, will have to stand trial for that call. I'm just telling you, even in the military, you can say, make a judgment call if something is really, really wrong. There are avenues to where you can report those instances. If you're in the FBI, there's a whistleblower program, and you know that you have the ability to go to the whistleblower program and to get that out. I know Barack Obama crushed that and crushed the whistleblowers, put them in jail and hide them and put them away. I know, but you got a different guy in town. His name's Donald Trump, President Donald J. Trump. Whistleblower program, better start using it or you will be subject to prison time. This at RSULTZBA, Ray Schultz. The exact same applies to Robert Mueller. We cannot say conclusively at this point that he is guilty of extreme bias in his investigation. But we cannot legally say at this point that he committed no crimes. A twisted statement like this applies to every living human being on earth. Well said, well said. You cannot say, Brian, that you are innocent of all crimes, yet at the same time, you might be guilty of some crimes somewhere, somehow. So at this point in time, we're going to have to put this on hold until we find you in a criminal. No, man, you don't investigate somebody looking for a crime. That's not America. That's the USSR. That's the former Germany under the Third Reich. That's it's these awful dictatorships that we do not live in, folks. This isn't how it works. Robert Mueller just allowing the media to give him a bone so that they can kind of run with it or make something up and keep the pressure on of sorts. But we clearly see through this. And this at Doing Right One. Love to torture myself. I cringe whenever she opens her mouth, but I can't get enough of her. Hope indictments come out with her name on it. Retweet if HILARY makes you cringe. Follow back all hashtag MAGA, hashtag CAG. Absolutely. She's a great one to follow. I've been following for a long time.
We heard from the special counsel, Robert Mueller, who said there were multiple systemic efforts to...
What's going on? So she just explained Barack Obama. If the attacks from Russia were coming on during the 2016 election, we know who was president of the United States during the 2016 election. We know that you got hacked because you had an illegal server. We know the Chinese had carbon copies of your emails coming and going. We know this. We know WikiLeaks. We also know about Seth Rich, and I would like to know a little bit more about his murder and, the findings. Hillary? Yeah, we know all about that. We know that the information was out there. And that's the other thing that a lot of people aren't talking about. They're saying, oh, Hillary was hacked. He was hacked. And all the information and this. No. What they were putting out there was real stuff and how bad she was, how awful she was. Everything from Benghazi to the email scandal, all the high classified information that was being leaked out, the things that governments were privy to that should never have been privy to. You, Hillary Clinton, gave it to them. What a shame. And this at the Washington Times, New York, Espelette praises fair, deliberate Pelosi as she considers impeachment course. Go for it, guys. It will not work out well. I don't care what you say. It's not going to work out. Go for it. Do whatever it is that you feel that you think that you can do to this president. He has been a phenomenal president. Again, it's the economy, stupid, and Donald Trump, in the end, will win. Sorry, it's about the economy. And the Washington Times writes this article, Robert Mueller buries key conclusion, admit omissions and innuendos. Special counsel Robert Mueller's exhaustive report on Russian election interference marginalizes its most important findings. There was no Trump-Moscow conspiracy. The Mueller report continues a pattern evident of the Mueller indictments, said Jack Langer, spokesman for Devin Nunes, California rep. Packed the documents with vague insinuations of collusion while downplaying the actual findings that there was no collusion. And this at thehill.com, Robert Mueller's no questions routine is absolute nonsense. The very first purportedly only press conference by special counsel Robert Mueller has the feeling of Mount Sinai moment for Washington this week. Indeed, his message seemed to be the same of Moses, which is have faith and do not question. Mueller spoke some 1,200 words before virtually admonishing the press corps that I hope and expect this to be the only time I will speak to you in this manner. After refusing to answer questions, he went back to the place from whence he came. This reporter is lamenting that he's upset that Robert Mueller walked away and there's no there. No, what do you mean? We've got to, just believe, faith, trust, and pixie dust. Mueller, we needed the smoking gun. We needed the hammer to drop, and you didn't drop it. Yep, that's absolutely right, folks. He did not drop it. This more on the deep state at WATSPN 1013. Gene. Mueller wimps out. Democrats could not find that President Trump did not commit a crime. 2.5 years, $35 million. You'd think he could have been more definitive. And Brennan still thinks he's in charge. Orders Democrats to take follow-up action. Walks off. This at the Gateway Pundit. So we've got Democrats now. We got John Brennan. We got other Democrats. We got Pelosi. We got people saying now it's time for Congress to take charge. Now it's time for Congress to get involved. Yeah, Congress has got to get involved and attempt to impeach Donald Trump because Donald Trump is doing his job, hiring Attorney General Bill Barr to do his job, getting Attorney Durham to just go after these people doing his job. Not inappropriately, not indiscriminately, but finding the real facts and prosecuting those who need to be prosecuted. And this one, thank you at USMC_Army. I really appreciate this one. This is a flashback, folks. Adam Schiff tweeted out, said, Mueller confirmed today that Russia engaged in multiple systematic efforts to interfere in the 2016 election. In a rebuke of Barr, he also made clear that because the DOJ policy is left to Congress, not to the Attorney General, to evaluate the president's misconduct, and we will. So our good friend retweeted back to Schiff, said, hey, speak of collusion, remember this when you thought it was a real phone call from the Russians that had dirt on you?
Hi. All right. I'm going to put Mr. Schiff on the phone, and then I guess are you going to transfer him to Mr. Parubi?
Yes, of course.
Great. Thank you.
Hi. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Schiff. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
I know that you work for investigation regarding Trump and Russian government.
Yes.
We know some important information about that.
And that is documented as well in materials you want to provide to us?
Yes. Could I explain you where we are?
Oh, that's a good flashback. It was a troll. It was fake. It was fake, but you could see Adam Schiff on display, excited and ready to receive. He set himself up. He kept screaming, I got evidence. I got evidence. And all of a sudden, somebody's like, you know what? Let's give his office a call. Let's give him some evidence. What a troll. Fantastic. Start trolling these non-violently, but I absolutely put thumbs up to start trolling these politicians and our good friend at Robert Dunlap 947. So let me point out a little fact. Hillary broke dozens of laws, but she didn't intend to and is exonerated. Mueller can't find any law that Trump or his team broke, but they think he intended to do so. He should be impeached. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see. Very well said. That's absolutely true. It is opposite world, and we know why it is. Folks, we know why it is. There's no questioning. There's no guessing anymore. We know what happened. All the evidence is there. It's all about Trey Gowdy has told us the evidence is there. They've unearthed all kinds of new documents and new information that Attorney General Barr is going through and Attorney Durham is going through. They're going through all this stuff. They're sifting through it. The IG report is out. There's going to be another deputy attorney got to get hammered, man. It is unnamed, but I'd like to see McCabe get a piece of that hammer. I really would. He was one of the bad dudes up there. So we got more coming out on Hillary. I know we've been reporting this. Tom Fitton on the job. But at Rising Rose 71 tweeted out this article by Breitbart.com. Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch uncovers FBI knew Hillary Clinton's abuses. Compare how Hillary was treated with Trump's treatment. No comparison. Comey laid out crime after crime after crime. No indictment. Mueller laid out no proof of crime, but says he can't prove innocence. That's where we're at right now, folks. And the Democrats and the Demon Rats and the MSNBCs are running with nothing, still running with nothing. So what do? What do they got to do if they got nothing? Got to go back to the race, man. Donald Trump's a white racist, a supremacist. You know how those supremacists are. They're racist. Oh, come on, man. Is this really how this is going to go down? At Danny1607, Joe Scarborough and Mika, no, you didn't on MSNBC.
Trump's lies and misinformation.
Not. I will say that traveling and talking to people, I'm still surprised at how many people are just so mad at Washington and they don't care. And they plan on voting for him. Yeah. They don't care what he does. They just are mad at Washington. It's still there. Brett Stevens, thank you.
By the way, Mika, a lot of those people that still say that, they're white.
They're
white.
They are.
They aren't black voters who saw Charlottesville, who saw the other things that Donald Trump has done, who called leaders of all black countries in the Caribbean and Africa, said they were asshole countries because they were not white. countries, or if you're a woman, if you see one misogynistic statement and action after another, white males may still be saying that, but it is a shrinking electorate for Donald J. Trump.
And this was tweeted out to her at Officer Whitney. Speaking of race, and we never learning about Black history, did you all know this? And she posted this up. The Blue Street Journal. Know your history? Memorial Day was started by former slaves on May 1st, 1865 in Charleston, South Carolina, to honor 257 dead Union soldiers who had been buried in a mass grave in a Confederate prison camp. They dug up the bodies and worked for 2 weeks to give them a proper burial as gratitude for fighting for their freedom. They then held a parade of 10,000 people led by 2,800 Black children, where they marched and sang and celebrated. Thanks to Goldsmith for this nugget of history that most of us never learned in school. It's a crime and shame how much I've learned since I've left school. It's a crime and shame how little I learned in school. It's just unfortunate. And this is why we got to keep doing this, folks, right here. New Right Network's original series, Smith TV. Jump over to smyth.tv. Check it out. Check out the website and all the stuff we got there. This is why we do this. If you're here on the show for the first time and you're like, hey, I agree with everything you're saying, Brian, you're right. You're 100% right. Crush the share, crush the follow. Tell somebody else about the show because they might not know this information. And if you've been on the show for a long time and you know me really well and you're part of our private message group, then, and you're like, you're right. You're saying that again. We've got to continue to say these things over and over again so that we can get the real news out. And this by Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens. Charlie Kirk tweets out, white privilege is a racist ideology. White privilege is a myth. The left trying to divide us by race. They teach students the horrendously false and incendiary lie that white people have extra privilege in America.
Anyone who says the term white privilege is purporting a horribly racist idea. White privilege is a racist idea. Anyone who says it. Let me tell you why. The definition of racism is prescribing a prejudice upon someone based solely on their skin color. White privilege is a racist idea, pure and simple. The richest racial group in America is not white people. In fact, they're third. The community I'm from was third. It's Indian Americans and Asian Americans, which, if you correct me if I'm wrong, in the 1940s, Asian Americans were widely discriminated against, put in internment camps. There was horrible racism against Asian Americans throughout the 40s, 50s, and 60s. They embraced a victor mentality, not a victim mentality.
That's how they got out of it. They decided that. So I will say this. I've yet to meet an Asian American that walks around talking about the internment camps, and yet you will always find a Black person talking about slavery, right? It's immediately. It's immediately. So what it comes down to is the fact, exactly what you said, is they have embraced a victor mentality. They don't go around seeing themselves like victims, asking for handouts and sympathy. They get to work, and they are the hardest working people in this country, which is why they are at the top of it. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
The beautiful Candace Owens wrapping that up with Charlie Kirk at Turning Point USA. These are the brilliant minds that are up and coming, and I absolutely am just thrilled about it. Think about that, folks, and I can relate to this. For those of you who know me pretty well, I was a victim of society. I was, as Larry Elder, the great sage from South Central, calls it, I was a victim of society. I was a victocrat, folks. I believed that everybody else was wrong and I was right, and everything bad happening to me was not my fault, but was other people's fault. When you live in that victimhood status, you constantly live poor, you live angry, you live upset, and Democrats prey on that. They absolutely prey on that. They want that because then they can make promises to you that we'll take care of you from cradle to grave. We'll give you subsidies. We'll give you housing. We'll give you food because you are a victim, and we're so sorry you're a victim. Be like the Asian Americans. Step out of victimhood mentality and embrace the victor mentality. Embrace being in victory. This at Real Candace O. I know it's a little bit of an older video, but I wanted to play it because I felt that it was very relevant to this day. New video. Every conservative should go see the Black Panther movie. because it is pro-Trump. Retweet to send your condolences to the race baiters who promoted the movie before seeing it. Hashtag Rwanda forever. The great Candace O. How fantastic. Absolutely love Candace. This couldn't be better. It's just so awesome to have intelligent, brilliant minds like this out there. So awesome. And as we're talking about racism and we're talking about the demon rats and the Democrats just absolutely getting goofy all over social media. And this by Gary Gindler on New Right Network. When will World War II be finally over? Even if we celebrate the 75th anniversary of D-Day, it is not a rhetorical question. On a surface, World War II ended a long time ago, 1945. However, the more accurate statement would be that the shooting war in Europe and the Pacific had ended, while one of the main reasons of the war in Europe, the conflict between one particular strain, socialism on one side, the version of socialism, and capitalism on the other side, has not. Great article. Link in the description below. Must read the entire article. Great stuff coming out of New Right Network. Yeah, we're still in the battles. We're fighting socialism, fighting communism, capitalism versus communism. And as he details that USSR actually 1/3 of the time fought with the Third Reich, and then 2/3 of the time fought with us. Folks, we needed everything we could to get rid of the Third Reich and to stop Japan and to stop Hitler at all cost. However, we didn't curb that cost when it came to USSR and communism taking hold. It's just very, very unfortunate. Now we've got Venezuela and Cuba, and we got communism all over the place that we still are fighting to this day. When will World War II be over? When the citizens rise up and finally understand that capitalism works. It's the only thing that's working. And as I promised you, abortion issues, updates on abortion issues, some great stuff coming out of our country. This at Suringer Cheryl. Watch for news at hearing in St. Louis at 10:30. Planned Parenthood is seeking a TRO against Missouri from enforcing law. Planned Parenthood cannot meet licensing requirements. If Planned Parenthood loses, Missouri will become the first abortion-free state as of June 1st. Please pray. And this was retweeted to her at Shoddy Pepelina. In Missouri, the last abortion clinic at PPFA could be forced to close its doors tomorrow. Let's pray that happens. Check out all the EMT calls that have been made due to problems. 74 women rushed for serious complications during an abortion. Hashtag shut them down, Missouri. Folks, there's the list right there of women that have been rushed to the hospital. This is a fact. Even Texas is trying to pass law saying that if you are an abortion clinic, you absolutely have to be within a block of an emergency clinic, or you have to have emergency doctors on staff, and they can't meet this criteria, so shut them down. And I told you about Democrat. Hashtag walk away today at U.S. minority. That would be Brandon Struck. Walk away. And this tweet by at R. and Klein. Wow, Louisiana state legislature on Wednesday overwhelmingly passed a bill banning most abortions after fetal heartbeat can be detected. Governor Bell Edwards, a Democrat, said he will sign the measure into law. Thank you, Louisiana. Save American babies. Democrats, not all of them are stupid. I'm just saying, not all Democrats are dumb, and this is a smart Democrat. He knows that he absolutely has to do this because Louisiana, a little bit more conservative state than California, Louisiana will vote him out of office if he doesn't do this. This is how Democrats stay in office, by siding with conservative ideologies. Go figure, folks. Go figure. And as we wrap everything up, I promised you climate change snow versus scientists. Folks, social media, digital technology, we are destroying the left with fact, not fiction, here on New Right Network's original series, SmythTV. Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern, just exposing all of it to you, showing you what the Democrats do, showing you what the Republicans do, so you can absolutely say to your friends and your family, hey, it's right here, both sides. I'm showing you both sides, and it is more obvious now than it has ever been in my lifetime that one side is 100% wrong and the other side is 100% right. I'm just saying. So for those of you out in California, I'm sorry, man. But Tony Heller here on YouTube explains snow versus science.
Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about climate. This video is titled, Snow Doesn't Lie, but Climate Scientists Do. In this video, I'm going to cover the spectacular disconnect between what scientists are saying about snow and what's actually happening in the real world. California is having their third snowiest year on record, and all three of their snowiest years have occurred since the year 2010. But never mind reality, scientists keep making the same ridiculous predictions over and over again. June 2001, Los Angeles Times. Less snowfall could spell big problems for California. New scientific research suggests that global warming, even by what experts consider conservative estimates, will severely shrink the Sierra snowpack. In 2006, one of our leading climate fraudsters, Katherine Hayhoe of Texas Tech University, who also heads up a lot of activity in the National Climate Assessment, predicted 70 to 90% reduction in snow in the Sierra Nevadas. Then again in 2008 she made the same prediction. This was 3 years before California's snowiest year on record, which is the winter of 2010-2011. The second and third snowiest winters in California history were the winters of 2016-2017 and the current winter. Katherine Hayhoe has no idea what she's talking about, which has made her very popular among Democrats. And when she isn't pimping drought in California, she's doing it back in Texas, which has been having their wettest years on record recently too. These red areas show California's long history of severe droughts, some lasting 200 years. Scientists consider all these old, very severe ones to be natural, but the little tiny recent ones to be man-made. As you can see, California was in severe drought most of the time prior to the year 1500, and generally they've been getting wetter ever since. That doesn't really sound like man-made drought to me. 3 years ago, right before California's wettest year on record, Governor Jerry Brown in the New York Times announced a permanent drought. And Governor Brown did exactly the same thing 40 years earlier in March of 1977 during the global cooling scare.
Very easy to see how the scientists in unison, or the consensus of scientists believe in global warming. No, science isn't a consensus. Either it is or it isn't. Science, you're either pregnant or you're not pregnant. There's no consensus board that says, well, let's think about this for a minute. Let's hold on a second. Let's think about this. Is she pregnant or not? Do you have cancer or not? Are you female or male? We're just talking about science, right? Global warming, it's either real or it's not real. We point out here many, many times, global warming is just another communist ideology to impose more taxes, get more control over the people, to really, really ratchet down the regulations and everything to hold the people down and keep the elites at the top. They politicians pass laws. One law says that they have $100,000 to spend for re-election through the United States Postal Service. If you're running against them, you don't have that $100,000. They already got money a leg up on you. That's what they do. They pass laws so that they can stay in power forever. We need to change this atmosphere. We need to change this. We're running a new game plan. We're getting involved. Social media and technology has made it our abilities to stay connected and stay involved like we are. And I wanted to point this out real quick. I almost forgot. Thank goodness I didn't forget. But check out the link. The link is at the top of the show notes, so you'll see it. You don't have to click over to go to New Right Network. This is right at the top. Our good friend Mike Cernovich tweeted this out. Twitter is an impossible social network to gain momentum on without a node promoting you. Entrenched players focus on ways of banning and policing others, whereas products should be focusing on ways to answer this problem. You sign into Twitter with 0 followers, Now what? That's the big question, and I talked about that yesterday a little bit, and our good friend at Jack Murphy Live replies to him, and this is a great thread that you've got to go through. Mike consistently retweets me for years. No question, it helped me build my following. I will always be grateful for that. But to folks just starting, even with support from a major node, you got to have good content, otherwise it won't matter. Folks, content is king, and that goes through it. It really showcases if you want to grow your following, be a giver, be a helper, be a doer. Content is king. Put out great content, make great observations about that content. So if you go to Breitbart News or you go to dailycaller.com or you go to Gateway Pundit, a lot of people are tweeting those articles out. I know. I showcase them here on the show. Everybody's tweeting those out. So what I found, just as what Mike Cernovich is explaining and what Jack Murphy Live is talking about, is that if you help support them or you give out good content with good commentary, help others out, and hopefully that they'll not hopefully, they will. Hard work always pays off. They'll recognize you eventually. And I just don't cuss. That's my personal opinion. Ain't no reason to cuss. Sometimes people drop F-bombs in their tweets, and sometimes people drop the cuss word, stuff like that. No reason for it. Just like in real life, when you're working with other people or talking to educated individuals, cussing is kind of frowned upon a little bit. Yeah, we don't do it here on the show. Family-friendly show. We'd like to be in everybody's house. We'd like everybody to get the real information out. Wow. And again, guys, this is a fast hour you're going to spend with anybody, anywhere in your entire life. I promise you. New Right Network's original series, SmythTV. Your host, Brian Smith, giving you the breaking news of the day, wrapping it all up, making sense of it, exposing the fake news, and giving you the real news Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Again, jump over to Smith.tv, share this with your friends and family. And for Thursday Thoughts, I'm out of here. I'll see you tomorrow for Freedom Friday.
You've been listening to New Right Network, mobilizing, countering, energizing. Online at newrightnetwork.com.